Hello property people, how are you all? If you haven't been on our channel before, my name is Mark Gull and I own the Yopa franchise for the north of Scotland, the Highlands. I get asked a lot of questions, and one that keeps recurring is, how does stamp duty work in Scotland? It's no longer called stamp duty, it's now called, I've written it down here, Land and Buildings Transaction Tax. I'll talk a little bit about it in the description of this video. I shall leave the link that I use as a calculator, if you like, and an explanation of the whole tax we have to pay. But they're called the Land and Buildings Transaction Tax, but a mouthful. I still call them stamp duty because that's what everybody knows them at. They're zero rated up to 145,000 if you're a second time buyer, and they're zero rated up to 175,000 if you're a first time buyer. And 145 to 250 is 2%. 250 to 325 is 5% in the additional amount. It goes as high as 12% once you get over 750,000. That's if you're just buying it as your main property. So if you're selling one property and buying another property. If you're in your own property and let's say you inherited some money and you wanted to buy a 2-bedroom flat to rent out in Inverness and you wanted to pay £150,000 for it, you'd be charged 8% as a second homes tax up to 145,000. That goes up to as high as 20% if you're buying something as a second home or an investment property at £750,000. That has, from a practical point of view, stopped an awful lot of one-off landlords. For example, somebody that does inherit some money from their parents, where do you put the money? Well, it's always been a great place to put money in the past as an investment into property. Rent it out, you'll get a rental income. And you'll get asset appreciation over time. I've done that myself many times over the years. The 8% minimum second homes tax is really putting a massive stop on that. If you're buying something at 300,000, for example, you'd be at 13% as a second homes tax. The difference is huge and it's horrific from an investment point of view. Where I struggle with it, and this is just my opinion, and I try not to be political, my opinion is that if I, as a one-off landlord, inherit some money and buy a property, I have to pay the second homes tax. If I'm lucky enough to have lots of money and I want to buy a 2-bedroom cottage up in the middle of nowhere for my family to live 5 months of the year, I still pay that same second homes tax, or additional dwelling tax as it's called. I believe that's unfair in so much as it's stopping one-off landlords facilitating rental properties available in the area. There's such a number of rental properties available, stopping landlords or discouraging landlords like me, potential landlords like me, from actually buying a second property to rent out. I think is a mistake, but I'm not in the government, and I have emailed and asked the question, but nobody seems to email me back from the Scottish government. But that's just my political opinion, if you like. But nevertheless, there's the laws in place. If you were lucky enough to be able to be in a position to live in your own property, buy another property with a view to living in that and sell your own property, you still have to pay the tax, the second homes or additional dwelling tax. However, you can claim it back. I believe it's after a period of 18 months or up to a period of 18 months. So you can move into a new property, sell your existing one and claim the tax back that you've paid, because you're not actually owning multiple properties, you only own one property. I've seen cases whereby if you actually inherit a property and then move on from your own current property, that's seen as a second home. So you have to be very careful with property these days in Scotland. So first time buyers, yeah, they're limited up to £250,000. They only pay 2% additional homes tax, which is an awful help to first time buyers to help them get on the market. So that's just a brief snapshot of I can never remember it. I've written it down. Land and Buildings Transaction Tax, LBTT, or to you and I, stamp duty. So hopefully that's helpful, and any other questions, by all means, just drop them in the comments below.